since my cat was the star of the last video, I thought that maybe you would want to see my dog and he could be the star of this video. So this is Odin, and he is enjoying his bone, as you can tell. Here, buddy. You can have it. Oh. Okay. I'm going to do a lesson on rounding to the nearest 10. So I have a lot going on. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. So when a number is rounded to the nearest 10, it has a 0 in the ones place. So 60 has a 0 in the ones place. 80 has a 0 in the ones place. 70 has a 0 in the ones place. 10 has a 0 in the ones place. 50 has a 0 in the ones place. And 200 has a 0 in the ones place. All of these numbers have been rounded. And the way that you tell is just by looking at the ones place. If you see a 0 in the ones place, then that number has been rounded. Now we're going to look at some numbers that have not been rounded to the nearest 10. So 76 does not have a 0 in the ones place, so it has not been rounded. 98 does not have a 0 in the ones place, so it has not been rounded. 33 does not have a 0 in the ones place, so it has not been rounded. 82 does not have a 0 in the ones place, so it has not been rounded. So all of these numbers have not been rounded. Now, how do you know what number you should round another number to? So by thinking of your tens, when you're counting by tens, you say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. If you are rounding, you are going to round the number that you have to one of those tens. The easiest way to think about this is to draw out a number line, which I drew out a small one for you. So on one side, we have the 10, 0. And on the other, we have 10. Now, if you look at all the numbers in between, you can decide which one is closer to those 10s. So, on this side, for 0, if the number was 1, 1 is closer to 0 than it is to 10. 2 is closer to 0 than it is to 10. 3 is closer to 0 than it is to 10, and 4 is closer to 0 than it is to 10. You have 5 in the middle, which we'll talk about in just a second. So let's go on to 6. 6 is closer to 10 than it is to 0. 7 is closer to 10 than it is to 0. 8 is closer to 10 than it is to 0. And 9 is closer to 10 than it is to 0. So all of those numbers would round up to 10. So 5 is exactly in the middle. The only way you can remember 5 is that you just have to know that 5 is always going to round up to the next number. So I wrote it right here for you. So if in the ones place the number ends with 1 to 4, then it's going to round down. If it ends with 5 to 9, then it's going to round up. So let's go ahead and practice this with some numbers. Okay, so the first one we have is 26. The number 26 is closer to 30 than it is to 20. So 26 is going to round to 30. The next number we have is 9. 9 is closer to 10 than it is to 0. So it is going to round up to 10. 35. This is one of those where 5 is exactly in the middle. So you just have to know that if there's a 5 in the ones place, then it's going to round up to the next number. So 35 rounds to 40. 57. 7 is closer, 57 is closer to 60 than it is to 50, so it's going to round up to 60. 99 is closer to 100 than it is to 90, so it's going to round up to 100. 52 is closer to 50 than it is to 60, so it's going to round down to 50. 64 is closer to 60 than it is to 70, so it is going to round down to 60. 71 is closer to 70 than it is to 80, so it is going to round down to 70. And 15, again, is one of those with the 5 in the ones place. Remember, the 5 is in the middle, so you just have to know that it's going to round up. So 15 is going to round up to 20. Now, the next thing that you're going to have to do with rounding is called estimating sums. And in your book, you're going to have problems that look like this. It's going to give you an addition problem, and then it's going to give you some blanks next to it. So the way that they're wanting you to estimate sums is that you have to round each number to the nearest 10 and then add them together. So in this first problem, we have 46. So you have to think 46 is closer to 50 than it is to 40. So right next to 46, I'm going to write 50. All right, and then our next one is 39. And 39 is going to round up to 40 because it is closer to 40 than it is to 30. So then our problem looks like this. And then all you're going to do is add. So you're going to say 50 plus 40 is 90. Now, a lot of times what people want to do is they just want to work this problem too, but you don't need to work the original problem. Just round it and then add the rounded numbers together. Let's try a different one. In this problem, we have 25 plus 14, so we're going to round each number so we can get the estimated sum. So 25 is going to round up to 30. Remember, I told you that 5 is exactly in the middle, but you have to just remember that it always rounds up. So 25 is going to round to 30, and 14 is going to round down to 10. Because 14 is closer to 10 than it is to 20. So our new problem is 30 plus 10. And of course, the answer to 30 plus 10 is 40. So your estimated sum is 40. So remember that when you are rounding, the number has to have a zero. Has to have a 0 in the ones place to show that the number has been rounded. And then to know which number to round to, you have to decide which 10 it's closer to. Remember our 10s, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. To estimate sums, all you're going to do is round each number and add them together. Please let me know if you have any questions.